Alright, what's up guys? This is Cold Coats, and it turns out that Brantley Gilbert is Mr. Big Idea. Some social media platforms have been muting the video on account of some of the music I've been using and licensing issues, so I'm just going to use some of my own. Enjoy. I was called up by Jason Dozer from Metal Dozer Machine Works, and he told me that Brantley Gilbert was going on tour with Five Finger Death Punch and wanted a mic stand that looked just as cool as theirs. So the idea was a rattlesnake wrapping around a chain for the mic stand. Here I started out with 1.5 inch solid round. I got it in the forge here. So this is the initial shape that I'm trying to get of the head. I'm trying to bring that big piece of round down, draw it down, and then kind of make an arrowhead shape in the metal. This was about the point in the project where I was like, oh God, what did I get myself into? You don't always know where to start, but you just gotta start. Sometimes hopelessly. I didn't roll footage on every single aspect of what I was doing because I was just trying to figure it out, and I got lost and started becoming obsessive. Here I am trying to draw down the venom sacs after I flattened the head of the snake, so I had to kind of bottleneck it down to the neck and then flatten out the head, and then I had to try and draw out the fat cheeks that make the venom sacs. I'm trying to kind of chisel them in here and give them some definition, make them look like fat little baby cheeks with venom in them. I'm a proud sponsor of Hanes underwear, as you can see. So here's the initial shape of what the head is going to be. I'm trying to kind of mark where the eyes would be, trying to kind of figure out some definition, where to add metal, where to take away metal, where the nose is, where the nostrils are. And let me tell you, I have looked at pictures of rattlesnakes for hours and hours and hours and try to find what's realistic, what are the mannerisms of a rattlesnake, what's the anatomy of its head, where's everything placed. And here's where I split the mouth. Every time you do something, you begin something, it looks goofy and silly. You have to push forward. Sometimes the best art or the best realism isn't how amazing you can be right off the bat, but the fact that you become obsessive over all the details, and eventually it goes from looking goofy and silly to realistic. I'm just trying to get the right angle of the mouth here. How wide do I want it so I can start adding features? This is kind of the first step here. When you take on projects like this, it's interesting because a lot of mental work as well. I spent a lot of hours just staring at this piece, wondering what I should do next, how I should approach the next step. And sometimes I would waste 2, 3, 4 hours just staring at the thing. Everything that you're doing has never been done before, so you're having to start from scratch. People they don't just pay you for your style and your design, they pay you to figure it out. The technique, you're learning technique as you're doing the job. There's the mouth. Not very intimidating. Looks like a salamander. There's the rough head profile. I will continue to refine it. So here I'm adding in the bottom of the jaw, and I had this bright idea to take little pieces of sheet metal and cut them out in such a way to where I could scarf them or scab them over the head to create more detail. So that little sheet right there is going to kind of make the throat area, and you can kind of see where the throat, like the windpipe on your neck, it kind of comes down in a cylinder shape, and then it kind of flares out around the jaws. Fancy TIG welding. So I'm not only fastening with welding here, but I'm also contouring. So I'll add metal and then shape it, and then kind of add more and contour the jawline down there. You can sort of see where I contoured the venom sacs a little more. Kind of built them up, made them a little more fat. It's starting to look a little throaty. The interesting thing about snakes, when people draw them or sculpt them, they don't really capture the true personality of a snake, it seems. And I looked at a lot of art, and I could never find anything that really seemed like it was the true personality of a snake, or a venomous snake, or a rattlesnake. Most people, when they draw them or sculpt them, they kind of put them in a position where they look like they're barking, or they look like they're saying something, hissing, or something like that. But snakes don't do that. Their mannerisms are different than that. They stare, their muscles tense up, they stay very still, and then they do one quick movement, which is a lashing out movement. And when I was trying to pose this snake, I was trying to pose it with those mannerisms, with that personality, as if the camera clicked right when that snake struck. I wound up dropping this thing after I pulled it out of the forge, and it was red hot, and I was laying it on my anvil like this, and I wound up dropping it and like an idiot trying to catch it, and put a nice big giant burn mark all over my arm. And to this day, that mark is still there. Trying to give the jawline more definition, the venom sacs here. There's what I have so far. That's the bottom half. It's starting to look a little snaky, it's starting to look a little reptilian. Still looks like a salamander though. We gotta take it from salamander to mean, scary, intimidating snake. And here I am drilling a throat into the snake. I figured that if the audience, that snake is down kind of on audience level, and I imagine the audience would be looking into the mouth of the snake. So I felt obligated to do some detail in the throat and in the mouth. I'm hollowing out the top of the mouth here. So as I was trying to design this snake, the reaction that I wanted when people saw it was, ooh. And I didn't want people to look at the thing and be like, oh my gosh, look at that, it's so beautiful. I wanted people to look at it and believe that it was real, because most people are disgusted by snakes, and I wanted them to think, ooh, a snake, ooh, I don't like that. So it's kind of weird, you know, sometimes as an artist, you usually try to get people to love your work and have, feelings about your work of, endearment and adoration and beauty. But this time I was like, I want people to almost hate this. And I did, however, get that reaction. It was kind of odd because I wanted that reaction, but then when I showed people the final product, they were kind of grossed out almost because of the realism. It felt a little hypocritical on my end, because at one moment I was like, oh no, you don't like it, and you kind of start to get your feelings hurt a little bit, and then you have to correct yourself and like, oh wait a minute, this is what I wanted. This is how I know that I have achieved my goal. So I didn't film a lot of this because I was trying to figure out what in the world to do, but I did wind up contouring the top of the head, putting some eyes in there. I kind of hollowed out some spots with the die grinder where eyes go, and I kind of dabbed a TIG bead of the filler rod where the eyes would be, and then I kind of grinded around it and contoured a little bit more and used a chisel. There was not a whole lot to show there, but it was very stressful, and I wish I turned the camera on for that, but I spent a lot of time being insecure about my next step and how I was going to do it, because this is the face of the snake is where things are so personal, and I just didn't have the energy to push play on the recorder. So here I am trying to heat this up. I am now trying to give the body detail. I'm trying to taper it just right. The neck has a certain circumference and it tapers down to the body a certain way. Funny thing about a snake's body is it's not round. In some places it has a square shape, and then in other places it has an oval shape. This is my 20-ton hydraulic press. This thing will absolutely chew metal. It'll almost squeeze it in half if you're not careful. I originally built this press for knife making, for making Damascus billets. That forge back there that you're seeing was my dad's forge. I think it was his very first forge. He used to be a horseshoer, doing farrier work, putting shoes on horses, and that was the forge that he used for that. He has since then upgraded. He gave that forge to me, and the good thing about that forge is it's got 4 burners. A lot of forges only have 2 and sometimes 3, and it's a little bit more rare to find a 4-burner forge, and that thing gets very, very hot. I've seen metal get about almost 2,500 degrees in there. I'm trying to kind of just soften the edges that I pressed with the hammer. And here I am going to try to put a crook into the snake's neck. This is where the striking pose really comes into play. If you look at a snake strike, it's almost kind of like holding a rope in your hand and then whipping the rope. The stuff doesn't look big on camera, but it's very thick metal. It's very big and it's very hot. It's heavy and hard to hold. It hurts your arms. And it's very difficult to move with a hammer. You gotta smack it a lot of times. Okay, well, here I am moving on to the rest of the body. Kind of made a little bending jig here, which this was a little bit difficult because it needed to wrap around the mic stand, the shaft of the mic stand, and you can't just wrap it around on a circle on a 2D plane. It has to spiral down like a spiral staircase. Here's the chain that's acting as the mic stand shaft. I had to weld all those links together. I needed to be straight, so I just kind of tacked it on the side of my press there. Let all the gold in the river float on if it meant you come back for me. More tapering, the tail this time. I can say that I've studied more snake anatomy than I would have liked to. That's a little above 2,000 degrees right there. Trying to soften the corners.
It's a love that I always feel, even when I can't find no way.
At this point in the project, I'm feeling a little bit less helpless and hopeless as I did in the beginning. When I took this on, I think a lot of people, their expectations is not a piece of hand-hammered metal. I think their expectations are more of a poured piece. Trying to translate that to where it looked like a poured piece that was done with a mold was quite difficult, but it challenged me to add more detail than I would have otherwise. So I mocked this piece of pipe up. That's about the thickness of the chain, and I tacked the snake in the position that I wanted it. And here I am wrapping this around, heating section by section. Sometimes the metal wouldn't want to cooperate and go the way that I wanted it to go. Really got to put your body into it here. Really gotta lay on that thing. Stubborn, big old fat piece of metal. I think I said a lot of cuss words. Success. We got somewhere. Back years ago, blacksmiths were considered to be workers of dark magic, and some of them were even executed because people had no idea how someone could take something this hard and this difficult and move it and bend it and twist it and make something out of it. So they thought, oh, the only explanation is they're a witch. So here is where the body really starts to kind of take its shape. Snakes, like I said, have the oval shape, and they have a backbone. They have a backbone, a ridge that kind of runs down all the way down the snake. And here I am welding beads down the back of the snake to put that spine in, to put that backbone in. Here I am kind of adding contour to the belly, kind of making it that oval shape, kind of fat, like it's a mature snake that's been eating a lot of rats and frogs. Oh my god, I messed it up. No, not really. I think this is the point in the project where people start coming up to you and they start wanting to give you their advice because the piece is not finished and it looks stupid, and then people are like, well, it doesn't really look like a snake. And then you're like, man, will you get out of here so I can finish this?
Done well done that. Give it some actual scales. I'll see you next week.
Hey, I was gonna do it. I think I can do it. I think I can do it in one day. Put scales on this thing.
That's the face of a guy who really does not want to go with that option.
You're right. You could not be
all that enthusiasm in that face.
You are so correct, sir.
Kind of getting the initial sanding with a really coarse grit here, shaping that body up, shaping that backbone. Here it is after the initial sanding. You can see that backbone standing up. And here I am trying to polish, get a little bit more smooth. Here I'm trying to just add more detail to the head. Now that I don't have to hit and hammer on it anymore, I can actually start adding more fine detail. The hard thing about the snake is trying to make it look mean and intimidating. It's so funny how you move something a 1/16 of an inch and it just doesn't look right. It's just like, why is this not right? I wanted to eliminate as much uncanny valley feeling as possible from this thing. Here I'm just trying to kind of chisel the fangs. A lot of people, when I looked at a lot of snake art, a lot of people had fangs that kind of come straight out and go straight down. But no, the fangs flare. When they open their mouth to strike, their lips, well, they don't really have lips, but their lips flare out, and the fangs kind of flare out with the lips. And it's very disturbing looking if you look at it long enough. I had to put those little dots on the end of the fangs so that people wouldn't stab theirself on stage when they were setting up his mic stand. Here are the rattles. I really like the rattle. I almost thought about making another one and making a little necklace out of it. I showed someone something on my phone not too long ago, trying to show them maybe a car or something like that, and I pulled up the pictures on my phone and just had to scroll through all the snake pictures, just scroll. They were like, "Man, you really like snakes, don't you?" Made a circle, cutting it out with the plasma cutter. Here I am punching the holes. I did set the snake on the pole there on the tube, and then kind of draw it out. And here I drilled the holes. I had to countersink them so the stand would sit flat on the floor and wouldn't have big bolt heads sticking out. So I countersunk, trying to tap the holes. They needed this thing to be able to break down and fit into a road case. So every component of this mic stand had to be removable. We are at the end of this project. Here's just the final touches. All right, let's see the final product. Let's see what it looks like.
She called, she knew me by name. I said we'll leave it here in the morning. People talk about you when you step into the game. You can lose or you can go be a winner. Yeah. Talk to me, keep it rolling steady. Come on.
Thank you guys for watching this video and checking out my work. Thank you, Jason Dozer, for trusting me with this project and putting it into my hands, even though you had absolutely no idea how it would turn out. And thank you, Brantley Gilbert, for having an out-of-the-box idea. I guess artists of all types have to be a little bit crazy to come up with an idea like this.